Certainly. Here is a comprehensive, detailed, and extensively expanded essay about the Viking settlement in Canada, carefully structured and easy to understand, offering deep insight and thorough historical context. Shash, the Viking settlement in Canada, conclusive evidence that Vikings arrived in America before Columbus. Introduction, challenging the traditional narrative. For centuries, students around the world have learned that Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. However, in recent decades, historians and archaeologists have presented strong evidence that Europeans from Scandinavia, commonly known as Vikings or Norse explorers, reached North America nearly 500 years earlier. The most compelling proof of this historical fact lies in an extraordinary archaeological site located at L'Anse Meadows, on the northern tip of Newfoundland, Canada. This Viking site dramatically redefines our understanding of human exploration, cross-cultural interactions, and the true scope of early European voyages to the Americas. Who were the Vikings? Understanding their culture and exploration skills. To appreciate fully the significance of the Viking settlement in Canada, one must first understand who the Vikings were. Originating from Scandinavia, regions now known as Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, the Vikings were renowned seafarers, explorers, warriors, traders, and skilled navigators. Their civilization flourished between the 8th and 11th centuries AD, a period known as the Viking Age, approximately 793 to 10 CC to 1066 AD. Technological innovations of the Vikings. Vikings are famously remembered for their advanced shipbuilding techniques, specifically the development of the iconic Viking longship. These wooden vessels featured innovative designs, shallow draft, allowed navigation in shallow waters, rivers, and coastal areas. Flexible hull. The planks overlapped and were fastened by iron rivets, making vessels resilient to ocean waves. Advanced sail rigging. Vikings were adept at harnessing winds efficiently, significantly extending their voyaging capacity. Oars and sailing combined enabled great flexibility and maneuverability, essential for exploration and warfare. Such innovations empowered the Vikings to explore widely beyond their Scandinavian homeland, reaching Britain, Ireland, continental Europe, Russia, Iceland, Greenland, and ultimately North America. The saga evidence, oral tradition, and written records. Long before physical archaeological evidence was discovered, Icelandic sagas, narrative stories written down primarily in the 13th century, but originating earlier as oral traditions, described Viking explorations across the Atlantic Ocean. Notably, Saga of Eric the Red chronicles the settlement of Greenland by Eric Thorvaldsson, Eric the Red, and introduces Leif Erikson, his son, as an adventurous explorer. Saga of the Greenlanders tells explicitly about voyages westward from Greenland to a new land called Vinland, rich in resources and inhabited by indigenous peoples. Though initially considered merely mythical or exaggerated, these stories provided crucial clues that guided modern archaeologists toward groundbreaking discoveries in Canada. Leif Erikson, pioneer of the Viking exploration to America. Leif Erikson, born around 970 AD in Iceland, is widely credited as the first known European to set foot on continental North America. Around the year 1000 AD, he led an expedition westward from Greenland. Eriksson's voyage, described in sagas, mentions encountering lands with distinct characteristics. Helluland, flat stone land, possibly modern-day Baffin Island, described as rocky and barren. Markland, woodland, likely Labrador, abundant in dense forests and valuable timber. Vinland, land of wine, a fertile region possibly in modern-day Newfoundland or further south along the Gulf of St. Lawrence, described as temperate, fertile, and lush, possibly named for the wild grapes or abundant berries found there. These detailed saga accounts matched geographical and ecological realities discovered centuries later, lending credibility to these historical narratives. L'Anse Meadows, definitive archaeological proof. The pivotal discovery affirming Viking exploration occurred in 1960 at L'Anse Meadows, Newfoundland. Led by Norwegian archaeologists Helge and Anne Stein Ingstad, the excavation uncovered definitive physical evidence of a Norse presence dated around 1000 AD, aligning precisely with saga timelines. Key findings included architectural evidence, longhouses, structures exactly matching those known from contemporary Viking sites in Iceland and Greenland, Constructed from local turf walls and timber frames, these buildings were unmistakably Viking-style dwellings and workshops. Smithy, a metalworking area, including a forge and slag from iron production, provided irrefutable evidence of European technology previously unknown in North America. Hash artifacts, found at the site. Iron tools and nails, metal objects used by Vikings for repairing ships, woodworking, and domestic tasks. Spindle whorls, used in textile production, suggesting the presence of both male and female settlers engaged in domestic activities. Cloak pins and personal items, fashioned in unmistakable Viking styles, these personal artifacts reinforce the site's Norse origins. Scientific dating techniques. Radiocarbon dating techniques precisely placed the Lonsau Meadows settlement at approximately 992 to 1050 AD, definitively predating Columbus's 1492 voyage by nearly 5 centuries. Indigenous encounters, Vikings and Native Americans. An important yet enigmatic aspect of Viking presence in America involves interactions with indigenous populations, identified in the sagas as skraelings. While saga accounts describe trading attempts initially, these exchanges quickly escalated into violent clashes, forcing Vikings to reconsider the sustainability of their settlement. Archaeologically, however, evidence of interaction is sparse, suggesting brief, limited contacts rather than sustained cultural exchanges. Nevertheless, the significance of these initial interactions represents perhaps the earliest recorded encounters between Europeans and indigenous North American peoples, significantly predating Columbus's documented interactions. Why didn't the Vikings establish a permanent presence? Despite their skills in exploration and navigation, the Vikings' presence in America was short-lived. Several crucial factors influenced their eventual withdrawal from North America. 1. Geographical isolation. Lonsau Meadows was isolated, distant from Greenland and Iceland, and logistical challenges rendered sustained settlement impractical. 2. Climate and environmental challenges. Newfoundland's harsh winters, limited agricultural productivity, and challenging maritime climate strained survival efforts. 3. Conflict and fear of hostility. Initial violent encounters with indigenous peoples discouraged permanent settlement. Fear and mistrust prevented meaningful integration or coexistence. 4. Internal factors and priorities. Greater incentives and easier living conditions in established settlements in Iceland, Greenland, and mainland Scandinavia discouraged further investment in North American ventures. Consequently, Vikings abandoned their Newfoundland settlement after a few years, or possibly decades, and returned eastward across the Atlantic Ocean. Nevertheless, the archaeological record clearly shows their brief but remarkable presence in the New World. Historical significance and legacy. The historical and archaeological significance of the Lonsau Meadows settlement is profound. Rewriting history. The discovery proved conclusively that Europeans arrived in North America centuries before Columbus, challenging traditional historical narratives taught in schools worldwide. Recognition by UNESCO. In 1978, Lonsau Meadows was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, affirming its global significance as evidence of early European exploration. Inspiring further research. The discovery prompted historians, archaeologists, and anthropologists to reconsider interactions between different civilizations, reevaluate timelines of human migration, and deepen exploration into Viking culture. Cultural pride and tourism. Lonsau Meadows became a prominent cultural landmark, celebrating Canada's rich historical heritage, attracting international attention, and boosting cultural tourism. Conclusion: a landmark of human exploration. The archaeological evidence at Lonsau Meadows has fundamentally altered our understanding of human exploration and cultural interactions. This Viking settlement in Canada stands as a powerful testament to the adventurous spirit, resilience, and innovation of the Norse people. By proving undeniably that Vikings reached the shores of North America long before Columbus, this site forever enriches our comprehension of history, illuminating an incredible chapter of global exploration and human courage. Thus, the Vikings, embodied by Leif Erikson and his fellow explorers, deserve their rightful recognition as pioneers who significantly broadened humanity's geographic horizons, transforming historical narratives and deepening our collective understanding of the human past.